What's going on, Jeromes? We fired up the Q&A. Thank you very much for submitting questions. Let's dive on in. First up, Chris Erickson. I'd like an update on the plans to have Kirk Cousins return punts this year. Nobody ever discusses this. It could be a game changer. Do you think Kirk has ever returned a punt or a kick? Like even going back to youth football? Probably not, right? Yeah. Justin Strahlenberg. Are there any free agents you'd want the Vikings to sign or any positions where you think we could use a little bit more depth? I would be fine if they brought in a veteran offensive lineman, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Dalton Reisner, but just someone who has a little bit more veteran depth, especially on the interior. I would be fine with that. You can never have enough cornerbacks, I guess. You can never have enough defensive interiors, I guess. So overall, I'm pretty happy with where the team is at right now, but we'll see. Drew Wanzek. How do you feel about the idea of the NFL adopting a lottery system for the draft? Do you think it would prevent teams from tanking? I don't think it necessarily would prevent teams from tanking because they still have tanking issues in the NBA. But I think the league does need to address teams just blatantly tanking because it's pretty obvious that the Rams and the Cardinals are just like this year, and to a degree the Buccaneers as well. So I don't know. Obviously, the NBA having conspiracy theories going back to the Ewing first lottery, the frozen envelope thing. I think that the conspiracy theorists to say that the NFL is scripted. If you put in a lottery where watch, like the Lions would win the NFL draft lottery this year because they want them to be hyped. Just, I don't know, man. Rogue Renegade. I would be down for the two worst teams in the league playing, and the winner gets the #1 overall pick. That'd be hilarious. Rogue Renegade. Can we please start calling JJ, TJ, KJ, and JA the Four Norsemen? No, I do really like Sons of Anarchy, which is really good. Hawkinson, Jefferson, Addison, KJ Osborne's son. Close enough. The Dill Gamer. I'm going to college in Winona in the fall. I was wondering what are some fun things to do around there. Well, since you're underage, the things that I would suggest probably wouldn't jive, but I would say that Winona is a very social school. I mean, it's a large campus, a lot of kids in a small town, so you'll be able to. There's lots of friends. There's lots of ways to interact socially. There's lots of college groups that are run through the school. There's lots of intramural sports teams, if that's your thing. But gamer, there's probably a gaming club. I'm sure there is. I think that there was a start of one when I was there. But Winona is a beautiful town. So getting outside, getting around the lakes, going down near the river, going up on the bluffs, going hiking. I mean, besides partying, which obviously is given in college, like there's a lot of really cool things in Winona, and it's going through a bit of a renaissance. It's definitely a little less third world country than when I went there, but maybe that was just me when I was there. I don't know, but overall, yeah, Winona's a nice town. It's a really good college town. Aces Films. What UDFAs do you think have the potential to make the 53-man rooster or the practice squad? So see here. UDFA. So in green, I think Knowles or Thayer could have a chance to make the 53er practice squad. Maybe Chen or Ali, one of the two on the practice squad. Defensively, it's pretty straightforward. Andre Carter, I think, makes it. Ivan Pace Jr., I think, makes it. Maybe one of the corners makes a practice squad and go from there. Yeah. Next up is Walter Cronkite, DMB. Cronkite Dave Matthews Band. Which NFC North offense will be most vulnerable to Flores' defense? What can we expect to see from common themes or traits in his scheme? Well, I think the great thing about Flores is that he really does mix things up. He comes from the Belichick school, and like they don't just roll out the same defense. Like it's custom made for every offense that they face. But it always goes back to me when the Ravens were rolling and they went down to play Miami. I think it was a Monday night game. Might have been a Thursday night game, but it was a standalone game either way. And they zero blitzed, so they had zero safeties, so they played press man across the board, and then they blitzed everyone else. on, it's like 80% of the snaps, and they just got after Lamar. It was a rain game, which was pretty awesome, and they got after his ass. And Miami was having a really crappy season, but they won that game. And I think that Flores does do good against mobile quarterbacks, so I think that him against Fields is going to be interesting. I have no idea what to expect from Jordan Love. I really don't. But hopefully they'll be able to slow down the Lions offense because they're going to be pretty good. Yeah. Joshua Monson 6. So with the common thought of Za'Darius and Dalvin going to be traded, do you think Cam's asking price was too much, or what happened? It could be a combination of asking too much or the offers just weren't there. Because at the end of the day, Za'Darius is on the wrong side of 30. Dalvin is 28 plus. Both of them do have sizable contracts. And were you going to get good value at that stage? Probably not. But I think now, since you're looking at future draft picks, I think teams are a little bit more open to giving fair value. Although they could just be waiting for the Vikings to blink and cut them. So who knows? Nicky Covington. I think the Minnesota Vikings got a very good NFL draft on draft Rangers picks. Agree? K. Fizzle, do you think Addison could be the offensive rookie of the year? I think it's certainly possible because I think that he's going to get his. I think he'll get 100-plus targets as wide receiver 2. And you look around, I mean, the quarterbacks, it's a bias-ass quarterback award. So maybe Bryce Young in Carolina, he's going to start from day one. Same thing with Stroud, same thing with Richardson in all likelihood. So maybe they get in there. But other than that, I mean, Bijan could be splitting time in Atlanta with Algier and a little bit of Cordero. And Gibbs in Detroit. And receiver-wise, JSN's going to be splitting snaps with Locke and DK. Quinn Johnston has a deep wide receiver room with the Chargers. I mean, maybe Zay, maybe Monk can open things up with Lamar. Who knows? But I think Addison does have a very decent shot. Carter, now that the 2022 draft class are not rookies anymore, if you could hop in a time machine, which pick would you want to take a mulligan on, and for which player? Well, I mean, hindsight is always 20/20, but if the Vikings sticked and picked and swapped Scene for Kyle Hamilton, I mean, because obviously, if you hindsight being what it is, you would do that, but also it would alleviate you of some of the other draft picks that the Vikings picked up from that trade back. So, who knows? Love the one you're with. Denny Dush. In your opinion, with their limited playing time, who played better, Evans or Booth? Evans. 1,000% Evans. Booth significantly struggled. Evans showed some nice flashes. So, yeah, I'll give the inside track to Evans at this point. Supercore 98. If Kirk takes another step in his game this season, how would you feel about another extension? Feel perfectly fine. And honestly, if the Vikings wanted to let it ride this year and then extend him after the offseason, next offseason, sure, even though the price tag would go up. Carter, what is one player from each side of the ball to this point had a very limited impact on the team? Do you see possibly making the leap in upcoming season and being a contributor to the team? Offensively, I think Ed Ingram may step it up. I mean, there's some positive signs and traits toward the end of last season. So I think he's trending in the right direction. Defensively, Asamoah is the obvious one. But also, I feel like Esezi Otomewo is going to surprise a lot of people along the defensive line. I think that when he got some snaps last year, he was solid. I think he's exactly what the Vikings need in a 5-tech. So, yeah. Tomahawk. Do you ever think we'll ever find a version 2 of the Williams Wall with some dominant edge rushers like back in the day? It would be nice. It would absolutely be nice. Martin Hardy. Which rookie or UDFA will most likely shock the fan base with a great play during offseason and preseason? We need a preseason standout to fall in love with. I think Dwayne McBride is going to be that guy. I think McBride, he has very translatable NFL traits. I think that he is going to absolutely bust up second and third teamers in preseason, and I think that people are just going to be really shocked by how good Dwayne McBride is. Reptar, which draft pick besides Jordan Addison do you think will have the biggest impact of their rookie year? Taking a gander. All right, so, well, Hawkinson. I think Jay Ward is going to have a big impact on special teams. I think that if Dalvin is cut or traded, I think McBride could get into the running back mix and do a little something. I think Blackman may start week 1. I think he may come into camp, beat out Evans, beat out Booth, and the 2 starting corners will be Murphy and Blackman. It's possible. Ryan Warner. Would it be a good thing for Dalvin Cook? Would it be a good thing is Dalvin Cook got traded away, even if the only return is a future 7th-round pick? I mean, if you can bump that up to a 5, that would be ideal. But yeah, the main thing is, does Dalvin want to be here anymore? That is a major question. And also freeing up cap space. It's $9 million if you cut him post June 1st. It's $11 million if you trade him post June 1st. So I would say get what you can get at this point. And giving up on a player a year too early versus a year too late is also important. Jeff Fields McCormick. Who do you think the biggest Hall of Fame snub in Vikings history? What one player above all others do you think should be a Hall of Famer? My vote's Jim Marshall. Maybe you had someone else in mind. Jim Marshall's the obvious one. I would say Jared Allen, even though eventually he's going to get in. So for right now, those are the top 2. War Poodle. If you could trade for any player, any position for the 2023 season, who would it be and what would you give up for them? Mahomes, I would trade 7 first-round picks. And so we got some condescending comments when we were talking about trading 4 once for Caleb Williams. Actually, you can only trade 3. True, but on draft day, it opens up that extra year. So you can trade that first rounder from the current draft and then 3 future seasons. That's the rule. So you can trade 4 first-round picks. But, I mean, for Mahomes, I would trade 4 first-round picks and Jefferson and TJ. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. Michael Hastery. I love the Addison pick, but do you think we missed out on Kincaid? Also, I mean, I understand drafting BPA, but tight end with Hawkinson and Oliver in the mix, not really needing a tight end. Also, do you think the Cards would send Baker for Hunter and Cook? I think they would send him over just for Dalvin. I think that's all it would take. Make it happen. ATK047. What are the chances Kwesi trades up for one of the top 2 quarterbacks in next year's draft? Well, it's going to be a big leap from 32. But there's going to be some other good drafts, good quarterbacks in this draft. You look at the Florida State quarterback, you look at Van Dyke, you look at Quinn Ewers, you look at, I mean, there's going to be a quarterback that comes out of nowhere and is going to be a first-round pick in this class, so it's going to be crazy. Sans DM, thoughts on Kashawn Boutte? I'm a Patriots fan. I'd like to know more about him. I think that he's a talented kid. I think that there's a lot of questions about, well, the way that he tested as well as how he's going to fit in the NFL. I think his upside is sort of limited, but I think that he could be a quality player. But, yeah, I mean, he certainly fell for a reason. ZIQ. Do you think if Jordan Addison turns out to be good that we will get rid of Jettis? No. I think that Kevin O'Connell, he understands that his offense is going to be generated from Justin Frank and Jefferson, the wide receiver 1 in the league, a great complementary piece in Addison, Hawkinson being a phenomenal receiving tight end. He's top 3 and he ain't 3. So I think that he understands where his bread is buttered here. Parker, how long do you see yourself doing YouTube and all this? Are you hoping this takes you somewhere larger? I don't know. Like, this is a fun side hustle. This is not my full-time gig by any means, but I'll keep doing it as long as it's fun and it's still a blast for me. Hoping this takes you somewhere larger. I don't really have any goals in that regard. I don't necessarily have a goal of well, we got to grow the channel or we got to become an influencer. I despise that term. Also, vlogger. Nah. It's so weird. I'm a pretty private person, even though I do several videos a day, which is kind of an oxymoron. I understand that. But I don't know. I don't see going down that route. Nah. Harvey Melber. Trade Daniil and 2024 second and 5th to Arizona for Buddha and one of their 2024 firsts, preferably their own over Houston's. Look at their 2023 opponents. I don't think they would do that because it's obvious that they're tanking for the quarter. I mean, what's crazy? The Texans are going to be booty, and and Arizona has Houston's number 1 pick, and Arizona's going to be ass. Thank you. So theoretically, Arizona could end up 1-2, and they honestly could go Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr., which would be disgusting, man. Lucas Kolef. Teams are super willing to pass on superstar quarterbacks in the draft, right? I've been informed it's going to be super easy and cheap to move out in the draft. It's funny. Yeah, it's going to be super tough to trade up next year. Bennett Durham Klein, do you think that we have a chance at a Super Bowl in the next 10 years? Yes. I think that Kevin O'Connell in place, Kwesi, I trust their judgment. I can't wait to see them get their own roster in place. And as long as you got Jefferson, you're going to have a shot, man. You're going to have a shot. Owen, would you rather have prime Kyle Rudolph or TJ Hawkinson as he is right now? Hawkinson by far. Hawkinson is a better athlete. I think that he's a better receiver. I think that he's a better inline blocker. Yeah, I'm Hawkinson all the way. Like, Rudolph, don't get me wrong, was a stud in his day, and he deserves the respect that he gets, but Hawkinson is just simply a better player. Connor Keck, how confident are you that we win our division again? 50-50. Either it happens or it doesn't. Nah, like, I think the Lions are overhyped. I think the Bears are a ways away, and I think the Packers are. Brock Fengler, how likely is it the Vikings trade up for Caleb Williams? 50-50. No. I think it's remote, especially since the team that gets a number 1 pick is probably just going to take Williams, maybe Drake May, either way. I don't see teams trading out. Marcus, is it not criminal the Vikings did not find a way to get guard Andrew Voorhees in the 7th round despite the redshirt year? Yes. I think that it would have made a ton of sense, even if you had to give up a future 6 to secure Voorhees in the 7th round. And I think that he is going to walk in next year and be one of the Ravens starting guards. Like, he's a really solid player, man. William Diver, what's the most challenging part about being a father and a husband? You're welcome. I think just time allocation, where there's only so many hours in the day, and you do have to kind of sleep, and juggling work, juggling trying to have a social life, juggling trying to be there for your kids, juggling trying to be a good partner for your wife, and not treating it like a LLC or like a loose partnership where you're just raising these kids. I think that's what it is, where finding time to be present with each of your kids, finding time to be present with your wife, and finding time for yourself too, which sounds selfish and narcissistic, but at the end of the day, it's really not. So taking time for yourself to get a workout in, or getting time to be alone with your thoughts, time to meditate, time to take a walk, time like that, where you not being at your best is a disservice to the people around you, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think time management is like the largest thing. So there's something called sleep discipline, where usually comes from the military, where you have X number of hours that you have to sleep. Also, it comes from pilots too, where you're required to have this amount of sleep before you can fly. But I think for parents, it's really tough too, because once you get the kids to bed, you're worn out, but you want to take some time for yourself. You want to watch a movie. You want to scroll on your phone. You want to catch up with fantasy sports and all that stuff. But then it cuts into how much time you have to sleep, where it's like you have to have that discipline to put the phone down, turn the TV off, and just sleep, rest when you can get it. It's kind of tough, but that is part of the challenge with young kids. Slim Dangerous, what are the expectations for the Vikings this year? What is acceptable and unacceptable? Are we still the top team in the North? Top team in the North, yes. Acceptable, 9 wins plus. Unacceptable, anything below that. I think the Vikings, yes, 13-4. Call it a fluke. Call what you will. Point differential, all that stuff. I think the Vikings are going to have a top 5 offense, probably top 3. If this defense can get middle of the pack, I think this is going to be a very dangerous football team. Pedro Branya, who's your top 5 favorite soccer players current and all time? So I've really only gotten into soccer, or what the world calls football, over the last 2 years or so. So, I mean, obviously I'm going to be biased because I am a Liverpool fan, but top 5 current soccer players, Mo Salah, even though he's coming up towards the end, yes. I fell in love with Sadio Mane when he played at Liverpool last year, and then eventually they transferred him. But he plays like a strong safety. Like, he does not give a fudge. He's very creative as a goal scorer. He's very creative in the box. He's very physical. He's tough. I just really respect the mentality he plays with. Where, I mean, soccer players get this reputation of being floppers and all that stuff. And to a degree, I understand the flopping because getting a penalty is really huge strategically, but no, it's so stupid. And Sadio does play like a linebacker, so I always respect that. Son Heung-min, I mean, I have to, even though Tottenham sucks and they're a bunch of tossers, Son is the dude. Lionel Messi, you got to respect the wizard, as well as, even though Man City, screw Man City right in the face, Kevin De Bruyne is an absolute star, man. Like, even though he looks like Opie from Andy Griffith's show, I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is an absolute superstar, man. All time, again, it's going to be super Liverpool biased, but Steve Gerrard, he'll pass the ball 40 yards. He's big and he's hard. Steve Gerrard, love him. Roy Keane, the very feisty Irishman who would come in, he would fight anyone, and he is the inspiration for Roy Kent, the character from Ted Lasso. Ian Rush, all-time Liverpool legend. Robbie Fowler's up there too. Johan Cruyff, the godfather of total football, all that stuff. So, I mean, that's really about it. But, of course, it's very surface level. Like, I didn't really get in depth, but that's my fandom right now. Plus, it is so fun where I can just be upset about how Liverpool does, and I don't have to, like, analyze things. I don't have to make videos. I can just literally just be a fan, which is a ton of fun for me. Jeff Fields McCormick, what do you think is the single best and worst Vikings draft pick from the last 5 NFL drafts? Probably best Justin Jefferson, but who is the worst and why? I guess that doesn't count, does it? Well, let's look it up. All right, so 5 years, so going back to 2018, I mean, you probably have to say my Q's at 30, mainly because Lamar Jackson was at 32. But yes, 2018 was the year that they just signed Kirk Cousins, so it wasn't like they were going to draft a quarterback in the first round. But, I mean, other than that, I mean, there's not any pick that you can really just be like, that was a bust. I mean, people are going to point at Lewis Cine, especially since Hamilton was on the board at 12, or J-Mo, or Gamble, or Jordan Davis, etc. But that remains to be seen. It's tough to say a guy's a bust after 1 year. Robert Stallone, if the coaches had to play a game, which NFC North staff would field the best team? I mean, obviously it'd be the Vikings, right? So you got Kevin O'Connell at quarterback. You'd have Keenan McCardle at receiver, and who else would I be hyped up? I mean, Flores could play, right? He played at Boston College back in the day. Because, I mean, Matt Daniels played in the league, too. So and is relatively young. So I think the Vikings would be good to go. I mean, Pettin played safety at Virginia, I guess, but he's like 50. Yeah, so I obviously the Vikings. Obviously the Vikings would kick some ass, man. Chris Cooper, duh. Played offensive line back in the day. Yeah. Alex Lazo, is drafting Caleb Williams possible? I mean, if the Vikings tank, but they're not gonna. Charlie Kroll, I've heard a lot of people say that you can't judge a draft for 3 years. Will you please do a vid ranking the 2021 draft? Skull Jeromes. Sure. Brock Fengler, where's your favorite place to go in Minneapolis? Like, I don't know, Twins game? I would say, I don't know, just really basic places. Like, I'm not really a bar or club person, but I would say like Red Cow, Blue Door, Gastoffs. I'm actually, for my birthday, I think we're going to get a group together and go to Gastoffs. It's a lot of fun. It's a blast, man. Basically just all like the, parlor, like all these smaller, kitschier restaurants. Yes. I'd say that's like the go-to. Yeah. Study with Matt. Why don't they have an NFL game in Australia? And if so, who would be the matchup? That's a good question. Yeah, I would do a game in Australia, and it'd have to be the Eagles, right? Jordan Mailata coming from, is he Australian? It doesn't matter. And then you'll find a punter who's from Australia and have those two teams play. Travis Belmore. Oh, Seahawks. There you go. Do you think the Lions thought they'd get Bajan when they traded back in the first round? I think that they thought that they would get him at 12, but then Atlanta was like, nope, yoink. P.O. I wish we could trade for like Justin Herbert or something. I mean, we could. Probably wouldn't happen, but we could. Michael Converse. Would you rather lose Super Bowl this season or the worst team this season have the number 1 overall pick? I'd rather lose the Super Bowl because that means that we got to a Super Bowl. And I haven't seen a Super Bowl loss in my lifetime, and I'm kind of jealous of like the old farts. Zargoza. Are you going to go see Metallica this year at the Bank? Not this time around. I saw them when the Bank first opened, and it was an awesome show. The acoustics there, not great, but I mean, they could still bring it. Also, the new album is good. Studio 13A. Randy Moss picked at 21 was the best wide receiver of all time. JJ 22 is the best wide receiver of all time. Is Jordan Addison picked 23 going to be better than both? I wouldn't say better than both, but if he's close, if it's a debate, I think that's a huge win. Miles, do you think the Vikings will get bullied by teams like the Eagles and a bunch of Arby's meats? The Vikings team is like a regular roast beef, whereas Eagles are a double or triple roast beef sandwich. I mean, it's possible, but they're betting on continuity and also development with Ezra, Bradbury, and Ingram in the middle. I mean, the tackles are fine, but we'll see. Carter, how much do the Vikings trust the 2022 draft class? I think it's pretty evident that they do, since they didn't spend a ton of draft capital on the defensive side of the ball. Well, they spent some, with Blackman, Jay Ward, and Jaquelin. Tristan, if the Vikings tank for a quarterback this year and Kyler Murray is available, Cardinals tank, should the Vikings be considered if he's available for a mid-round pick? I mean, I'm not the largest Kyler Murray fan, but if you can get him for a fourth rounder, sure. Mark Casual. Are there any XFL players you're eyeing? I watched the Roughnecks game. A wide receiver, Justin Smith, seems like a guy. I haven't been watching very close. I also did not watch the USFL very close either. You think that would, because I was like all in this year, but nah, didn't happen. Tristan, I think we should trade Daniil to a bad team like the Commies. That way we have a much better chance of getting quarterback next year, maybe even Caleb Williams. The Commies, like the only redeeming quality about the Commies is that they have probably the best defensive line in the game, and I don't think they would trade. Actually, they might. I mean, maybe they're giving up on Sweat. They've given up on Young, so maybe. How about Daniil and Chase Young and a second rounder? Why not? Holly Claire, does Addison win Rookie of the Year? Yes. Also, he wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, because why not? Carter, when does the Justin Jefferson extension happen? I think they'll get it done right before training camp. There we go. And that's it. That is this week's Q&A. Thanks for submitting your questions. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.